Good evening and welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Lord. We've got a great show on tap for you today. We're going to talk some college football. We're going to talk the Heisman race, Jaden Daniels, why he should be on top of it going into the last couple weeks of the season, but why Bo Nix is understandably the favorite to take home the award with so many big games left in front of him. But we're going to start off with an interview from Brian Snitker on 680 The Fan. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. I believe it's somewhere on their website. He was on their morning show, and he talked about a lot of subjects, but one thing that I think Braves fans will be very interested in is, the free agency situation. We're smack dab in the middle of free agency. I know it doesn't seem that way because there's literally been not a single domino to fall. That's something I think MLB needs to work on, try to shortening this free agency window so there's a little more action to keep people involved. Because you look around the league, if you're a baseball fan, like this is the deadest time of the year. And you look at other leagues like the NBA or the NFL, this is usually the most exciting time. So you'd like to at least, maybe if you're not getting people signed, you'd like to at least hear some more rumors and stuff like that and feel like there's traction. But that usually doesn't happen until around Thanksgiving and into December and then sometimes into January and February. But we talked a lot. Listen, the Braves, what kind of spenders are they going to be? We don't know. We know they've been mentioned alongside the big names, but this isn't the first time they've been mentioned alongside big names and they never seem to get them. Is this the free agency that they finally say, hey, we've got all these guys lined up on these short-term or long-term team-friendly deals. We're making a lot of money. We know payroll is going to rise. Let's go out there and get what we need, overkill what we need, and make sure this team is as stacked as possible for October and win a championship. Brian Snitker talked about that a little bit, and he said, hey, listen, nothing is off the table. Alex Anthopoulos is going to try to make the biggest moves possible. He works tirelessly trying to get this team to the best that they can possibly be. Ohtani, we've heard him mentioned. We've heard Aaron Nola. We've heard Sonny Gray. Like, he is going to try to get those guys. It's up to ownership and the powers above him to give them the money to financially go after those guys. And it seems like they're a little more open to doing it this time around.
I think the powers to be are going to give him the tools or at least the resources necessary to do, within reason what he deems necessary to get the Braves back over the hump and on top of the mountain once again. I think it's very clear that, Alex Anthopoulos' MO from the past few years has never been to go out and spend a bunch of money in free agency. Generally speaking, it's a trade and subsequent contract extension. That's been his MO. And whether that changes or not, I don't know. But I do believe that there is something coming down the pipe in terms of a move that many people aren't seeing directly, whether it's a starting pitcher, whether it's a high-end reliever, whatever, maybe it's a stud left fielder. I don't know. But generally speaking, what everybody is expecting never comes to fruition when it comes to the Braves and their offseason moves. I do think something is going to come because if you just have watched Alex Anthopoulos talk this entire offseason, he obviously is holding his cards close to his chest. He's obviously not going to give anything away from a strategic advantage. He doesn't want GMs to know his plans, and that's, it's very fair. But you can kind of see him wanting to tell people, like, I realize what has happened, what has transpired over these past two postseasons. I realize that I built 200-plus win ball clubs in back-to-back seasons, and we flamed out in back-to-back NLDSs. I realize that something has to change. I think that means, and I don't think it's going to be ticky-tack moves. It's going to be something that kind of puts the Braves over the top. Maybe not necessarily in the regular season, because as currently constructed, as I've talked ad nauseum about, as currently constructed, this team wins the NL East and probably sniffs another 100-win season, probably gets over the 100-win threshold again. What we're all looking for is building to October, and that's what I think this move is going to register to. It's going to be for the playoffs. Not maybe it obviously translates to the regular season, especially if it's a frontline starter. That'll obviously translate in the regular season. But I think Alex Anthopoulos' mind is towards October. What can I do to make this team better for October, not over a 162-game stretch?
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. But like I said, a lot of these moves that Braves fans are wanting for really don't come down to Alex Anthopoulos. They come down to ownership and how much leeway they're going to give him. Because right now they're currently just under $200 million. We know payroll is going to rise. But if they're only going to give them, another boost of $20-30 million, they're not going to have the money to fill all their holes and then go out there and get an Aaron Nola or, God forbid, a Shohei Ohtani or anyone like that. But if you look at what the Rangers did last year, they did two things that you're talking about. You're talking about they overkilled their pitching staff. They went out and got Jacob deGrom. Well, they lost Jacob deGrom for the entire season. They went out and got Max Scherzer. Well, he wasn't even really that healthy for ever since you joined him, and he was a shell of himself. But they still went out and also got Jordan Montgomery. They still went out and also got Aroldis Chapman and stuff like that. And not to mention they've spent, $800 million in free agency the 2 years prior on guys like Marcus Semien and Corey Seager, who were huge to that World Series. And I think, if I'm just trying to play like what Liberty Media is thinking and stuff like that, well, you won in 2021 with $190 million, $170 million payroll. You should be able to win with 190, and then you should be able to win with a 230. But that's not necessarily how it works. And I think it's easy to get somewhat complacent, expecting that, like, yeah, look at this team. We won over 100 games. We went over 104 games. Like, we should win the World Series. Well, maybe we do need to go out there and make sure that we get there, because guess who loses money when they get bounced in the first round? The ownership, and guess who loses money? Guess who's going to maybe not be as excited for the regular season last year? A lot of the fans. Now, I don't think it's going to truly matter because Braves fans are so loyal, and you give them 4 months to kind of recover from another disappointing exit. They're going to be packing that stadium for whatever. But there are things that I think when you look at it, I think even ownership has to look at it and be like, let's push the envelope here and give them a little bit more money to spend. And that's what I hope to see.
Obviously, this is a business to them. To us, it's it's just fandom. We want to win. It's not our money. We don't care. But they're thinking of it from a business point of view, like you mentioned. And to me, the obvious answer would be to sacrifice in the short term, make a little bit less money, spend a little bit more money in 2024 to maximize your chances of winning a World Series. And you're going to see that money come back. And listen, I'm not some genius. They obviously realize that. I'm just trying to say maybe this is what they're talking about. We spend a little bit more money, make a little less money in the immediate. But if we win a World Series, or at least make it to a World Series, we're going to see that investment pay off in future years. I think that is maybe the conversation going on behind the scenes in terms of, a budget for the payroll for Alex Anthopoulos. And I think that, they're going to come to the realization that the more they spend, the more it's going to benefit them, and they're going to see it come around in the long run. I really do believe that.
Yeah, and I'm not going to sit here and the last thing I'm going to do is do what a lot of people have done to Liberty Media, and it may 5 years ago have been right to do, and talk about how they don't spend. I mean, let's be real about the Braves payroll. It's higher than it's ever been. They've never been a top 5 payroll. It doesn't matter which metric you look, how high they are compared to other teams, or just purely dollars. They've never spent this much, and they consistently keep it rising. It's just about how much are they going to keep it rising this year, and that's what's going to determine whether we can go after a star free agent. I got a feeling it's going to be higher than people expect. Whether that's enough to get Aaron Nola, maybe he's not the right pitcher, as we say. Maybe whether that's enough to get Yamamoto, maybe he doesn't want to come here, but it could be a Sonny Gray. It could be a trade. I do think payroll is going to be significantly higher this year, and I do think the Braves, in one way or another, are going to land that star frontline starting pitcher to put there with Charlie Morton, Max Fried, Spencer Strider, and like you said, overkill. Because yes, those three, if they're healthy, should be enough. Health has been the biggest concern for this team. Having another arm that you can guarantee that he's going to be ready in October, that's going to be critical to this team's success next year. Coming up after the break, we're going to discuss who is the next Braves young star.